Shaitanir Rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I greet you, my brothers and sisters, with the noble and universal greeting, the greeting that has been used by the prophets and messengers of our universal Creator, Almighty Allah, the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, it is the fourth Friday in the month of Ramadan, and today is the last day of the month of Ramadan, and so we're blessed to have 4 Fridays complete. Is it 4 or 5? Yeah, we've had another Friday in the month of Ramadan, and this is really a privilege for me to complete the section on fasting, the spiritual benefits of fasting. And the month of Ramadan is a month in which Muslims around the world have been, through the Quran, guided to observe the month of Ramadan through fasting for the purpose of attaining taqwa. And we've been talking about fasting for the purpose of attaining taqwa, which is basically spiritual development. You know, taqwa is a state of spiritual development. Who can deny that taqwa is a state of spiritual development? In life, you know, you can develop yourself in different ways. You can develop yourself intellectually, you know, you can develop your mind, and you can develop your muscles and your body, and you can develop yourself in a role, you know, whether it is a carpenter, you can become more developed as a carpenter and have more skills, just as an example. But here we are talking about spiritual development, and a lot of people, when we talk about spiritual, they don't really understand what spiritual development really is. You know, so it's bringing to Allah a purified heart, which is what the Quran tells us about. The Quran guides us. It says to us that what will avail us, what will benefit us on the day of accountability, on the day of the gathering, on the day when all human beings and also the jinn will be accountable to answer, on that day when there will be a decision that whether you will proceed into paradise or you will proceed into horror, you know. It is that the value is to bring to Allah a purified heart. You know, so if you're living your life and if you're not interested in bringing to Allah a purified heart, that means you're not following what the Quran says. It says, neither will your wealth nor your children avail you. Only bringing to Allah a purified heart does on the day of accountability. So the Quran is a book of guidance, guiding human beings to development. Not just spiritual development, but mainly spiritual development. I won't say mainly, because Islam is a theocracy. It's not only a development of spirituality and the spiritual and the connection with our Creator, but it is also a development of individuals living in community, individuals living within a society, you know, how a society functions and regulates itself. There's things like zakah, which is a redistribution of wealth, you know, in the society. So Islam is although it's primarily about spiritual development, it's also about the development of us as individuals, as couples, as how, you know, we can enter into spousal agreements, and it's also how we can live in terms of the community, neighborhoods, and our neighbors, the rights of neighbors, the rights of human beings. You get what I mean? So it's not just about spirituality, but it is about your personality, your character. It's about how you conduct yourself, how to organize yourself as an individual in couple relationships, in business transactions, in how the country can be run, you know, for the benefit of people. It's got regulations like what is permissible, you know, what's good for the country, what's not permissible, and so on and so forth. And so Islam is primarily about spiritual development, because the Quran tells us about Iman, and it tells us about Amal. And it says Iman before Amal, because it says to us, those who have good conduct, but they have good conduct without faith, then it is as if a person is in the desert and sees a mirage. He's thirsty, he's got heat stroke, he's desiring water, and they see this mirage. The mirage is like an oasis where palm trees, water to drink, cool shade, and they see that and they go to drink the water, but all they do is put sand into their mouth. So the Quran tells us that Iman and Amal, it's your spirituality, your connection with your Creator, and it's how you conduct yourself as a person in relationships with yourself, in relationship with your body, in relationship with your spouse, in relationship with your family, in relationship with your community, in relationship with your country, in relationship with the global community. Islam is a guidance at all these levels. So Iman and Amal. The Iman is primary. It's not more important, these are important, but you can say in a sense it's primarily important. Because if you don't have Iman, then even if you try to conduct yourself with ethics, you still are not connected with your Creator. And I'll explain to you how this fits in. So you might know a lot of people who are well-mannered and very respectful, and they conduct themselves honorably, and that's wonderful, because that is also important. There's Iman and Amal. There's your relationship with your Creator, and then your relationship, as a human being with your Creator, and there's your relationship as a human being with other human beings in the world. There's a relationship with our Creator in this world through our death and beyond. There's a relationship, that's Iman. And then there's Amal. There's a relationship with us, our bodies, our lives, with people and things in this world. And that also determines what happens in the hereafter. So Iman and Amal work together. There's many verses, and I've quoted them many times to you. I said to you that those people who have Iman and Amal, the Quran says, if you have faith and if you have good conduct, whether you're a male or you're a female, whether you have male or female, if you have Iman, your relationship with your Creator, and Amal is how you conduct yourself in the world with yourself and other human beings, and even animal life forms and so on, and plants and all, not just with human beings, how you conduct yourself respectful to life on earth as such. And if you conduct yourself with Iman and Amal, whether you're a man or you're a woman, in this world there will be a life that is pleasing and satisfying for you. There will be what we term a prosperous life. There will be for you God's good in this world through your death and beyond, and a blissful return, the Quran tells us. So I'm putting it into perspective, right? That when you're living here, the Islamic teaching is really an Islamic teaching of spiritual development and also personal development. And in the Quran, it tells us about spiritual development, and it tells us about how to conduct yourself. And then the beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he embodied conduct, amal, how to relate and how to live. See, so we have Allah, our Creator, who we have the Prophet through whom he was a revelator, bringing the revelation that is the Quran, but which came in the month of Ramadan, and he was also the exemplar of in the Sunnah, in the behavior of how he conducted himself. So Allah through the Prophet gave us the Quran. The Quran has guidance from Allah. It guides us to Allah, and it also tells us if you believe in Allah, Allah will guide your heart. So the Quran is guiding a people lost in darkness to have a relationship with your Creator. And when you have that relationship with your Creator, Allah guides you further from within, intuition, guidance from within. And the Quran tells us how to function as a society and so on and so forth with the legal aspects, the Sharia aspects of organized society. And there is the Prophet who is, embodying how to be in the world. That's why we say that there has been no greater human being in terms of leadership, in terms of honorability, conduct, that has ever lived and will ever live, that has ever lived and will ever live. So my point is, if you look at Islam, the Quran, the Prophet, it's all about development. It's spiritual development and personal development. If you look at things like how to clean your body on the outside, and how to live with a clean body on the inside. Eat halal and tayyib. There's health that is inside the body. There's hygiene of what you put into the body. Iman, Islam, guides. We're guided through to the iman, and the iman, the iman and the amal. You know what I mean? The faith in Allah is the spiritual development. But then there's also how to live in the world, respecting your body, how to live being the best of human beings. You see, the Quran says the Muslims, the real ones, and not the Islamis, those who are lost, but think they are, tops. The real Muslims are the ones who benefit humanity. You know what I mean? Why do they benefit humanity? Because they're out of spiritual darkness, they're out of being lost, they're not superstitious, they're not ignorant, they are humble, they're not arrogant, they're not acting entitled, they're not acting needy and desperate with endless supplications. You know what I mean? Once you got guidance about Allah, you let go of superstition, ignorance, arrogance, entitlement. This is spiritual development. And as you have that relationship of security with Allah, then Satan, the accursed, is not easily gets to you. The Quran says, over those who worship Allah, Satan will have no authority. Over those who are devout in the worship of Allah, those who have a real relationship with Allah, they're more interested in Allah than Satan. Those people, they are not easily, hijacked by Satan. So if you have a relationship with Allah, then you will more automatically be able to follow the guidance that allows us to live with personal development, like be patient. As a person, you can be a patient person, you can become a more patient person, you can be impatient and you can become more patient. Generally, as I said, you don't have to teach children to be impatient. They're already there. This is the fallen state. This is the state of Satan whispering to all of us. You don't have to teach people to be impatient. They generally are there. But through personal growth and development, through teaching, somebody can become a more patient person. This is development. Personal growth. You see, the spiritual growth and development, there's personal growth and development. So we can be developed. When you develop spiritually, the Quran says Allah is with those who are practicing patience. Allah is with those who are practicing patience. You practice patience, you'll experience Allah being there with you and for you. You know what I mean? If you are impatient, so while we're spiritually developing the spiritual practices, one of them is sabr, the patient perseverance, the spiritual development, appreciation. The Quran says Satan renders them kafuran, they are kufaran, like kufar, like they are in denial. So there's a spiritual growth where you actually go into Tawheed awareness, Tawheed consciousness, Allah consciousness, and you actually are aware that you're worshipping Allah. You don't believe that you're worshipping Allah. You actually are aware you're worshipping, and you're praising Allah, actually praising Allah. You don't think you're praising Allah, but you actually are worshipping Allah. You actually are praising Allah. You're not just doing something thinking because you're doing something, it means that. That's a belief, right? Because I'm doing this, it means that. The Quran says many people, among the people who say they are Muslims, they say they believe in Allah and the last day, but they don't. You see, they lie to themselves, thinking they lie to Allah, but they only lie to themselves. So Allah is saying there's plenty of people who think they're believing and worshipping and all that sort of thing, but they're not really spiritually developed. Like I said in my lectures gone by, in the 4 weeks gone by or so, I've been speaking about, how we can actually, literally, really draw closer to our Creator. We can go beyond our ideas. I've been explaining how when you're a child, you learn to fast, which means just don't eat food, and you think that's fasting now, and you're a child. And then you grow up and you continue to have ideas of fasting as a child. Or you think that, now because I made my wuzu and I'm on my prayer mat and I'm saying Allahu Akbar and I'm reading this and I'm reading that, it means I'm worshipping Allah. You get what I mean? But children haven't developed yet. They're underdeveloped. And so you can have all these ideas of an underdeveloped child. You might not know what real worship is, what real praise is. You might not know what real trust in tawakkul is. These are all spiritual developed when somebody is developing spiritually, they actually have tawheed, they worship Allah, they praise Allah, actually praise Allah, they experience that being impressed with Allah, knowing that Allah alone is the incomprehensible, Allah alone is the incomparable. They have an awareness and experience of Allah consciousness because of a relationship of submission. You see, the Quran says, don't say you believe in Allah, don't say that you're a believer. Don't say you're a believer. For Iman has not entered into your heart. You can't say you're a believer if Iman has not entered into your heart. Rather say you are you are submissive in religion. Rather just say you have the way of your people is Islam, that you are just following religion. Rather say that you're following religion. Don't say you're a believer, rather say you're following religion. You get what I mean? So we are interested in, not just as a child, I was schooled to believe these things, to think that these things is what it's about. I must just read the Quran in Arabic, not understand a word of what I'm saying. That means I'm doing something very good. This is an underdeveloped person when you're a child, and you learn these things to do as a child, and you continue to do them as an adult. There's no development there. You get what I mean? There has to be spiritual development, actually worshipping Allah, actually praising Allah, actually trusting in Allah, actually being thankful. You get what I mean? Actually invoking the forgiveness of Allah. People don't know what it means to actually invoke forgiveness, invoke patience or invoke the patience, with Allah, that I choose to experience not being controlled by anything, not trying to control anything. I choose to experience security in times of challenge, allowing what is. People don't know. They don't know, not spiritually developed. You get what I mean? And lastly, dua, how you can actually invoke Allah as a believer. The Quran, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that dua is the weapon of the believer, is a technology of the believer, that dua is the highest form and essence of worship. It averts misfortune. So these are spiritual practices of believers, of real believers. You get what I mean? But you get people who went through madrasa and just learned this and are still living as they're underdeveloped. They're not, you can't see spiritual development in them because there was no process of spiritual development. You can't see any personal growth development in them because there was no personal growth development. But they'll live and die without bringing to Allah a purified heart. You know what I mean? That could have been me. It could have been you. Shukr to Allah for the guidance, who guided us to awareness. The Quran says this is for people who reason. So there are some people who are spiritually underdeveloped and they just follow ritualistically what the Maulana Guru and gang tell them, and they think now that's what it's all about. But they're not really aware that Islam is bringing to humanity the guidance to heal the diseases in the heart. You get what I mean? It's the potential that we human beings have been given to demonstrate human excellence that is available to us. And Allah is a champion of us to live naturally and to experience His security, with Him, to have a relationship with Him. Remember Adam and Eve, they went into a trance state, they got lost, worshipping, they didn't realize that what was going down, that they thought they'll be immortal, the world will never perish. That's how human beings live. They live like they're primary. They fail to recognize every day that goes by we're getting closer to the death and we're getting closer to the afterlife, and that this preparation for us to do, to develop ourselves spiritually, to develop ourselves personally, character, conduct. People have just reduced Islam to the sunnat means have a beard, wear a hat, just say these words, instead of the amal, the conduct, the spirituality of the Prophet. That's not there. We are in the Islamic dark ages. So fasting is one of the most valuable, not starving yourself and depriving yourself of meals from morning to noon. Fasting in the way that I've been sharing with you. Real fasting for the purpose of developing taqwa, that closeness to Allah, that shield, that protective shield that allows you to be more spiritually inclined. We'll see in this month, right? Those people who went to madrasa, just learned things, never developed spiritually, never developed it, become very holy moly. But if as soon as after Ramadan goes, you don't hear them talking about Allah, you don't hear them. It's like, fit in, blend in with the people, follow the, the Jamils, the Joneses, whatever it is, live like the Jamils, follow them, whatever they're doing or whoever it is. So there's no real process that when you start Ramadan and at the end of Ramadan, you actually feel that spiritual development. You actually feel that security within you. You're not controlled by the world that much anymore. You're not trying to control the world that much anymore. You are aware of what your purpose is here. You are working towards your purpose in this world of spiritual development, of personal growth. You are becoming more and more a demonstrator of what it means to be an honorable human being, a humble human being before your Creator. Humility. A thankful human being before your Creator. A human being that has remorse for letting us down and is repentant. A penitent human being, that I choose to live at the highest levels. I don't want to smoke cigarettes and poison my lungs. That's destructive. That's not a mark of somebody who is living respectfully. That's not the sunnah. Yet you'll find chap got a big beard, smoking his lungs out, he's telling you he's following the sunnah. In the meantime, he's being highly destructive. This is Satan. The Quran says, do not with your own hands destroy yourselves. If you read that, it says, do not with your own hands destroy yourself. Now, I'm not going to go into a lecture about cigarette smoking. I'm just going to say that people live needy and dependent, controlled by things. That's how you know that somebody is really spiritually impoverished. I know that because I come from there. How I know I'm spiritually empowered today is that I'm not controlled by people and things as much as I used to be. Well, I don't have any addictions. My body, I can withstand, not having food or any physical urges, fulfilled. I can be in situations where I don't need to, fight with anybody, argue with anybody, because I am not controlled by the body. You see, fasting, I told you, is one of my favorite spiritual practices, and it has supported me in good stead. So if you have been fasting from the beginning of the month with the intention to attain taqwa, you understand, and you understand that fasting is about actually being able to handle discomfort. I can handle physical discomfort. This is not strain. Fasting is not strain, right? You eat healthily before and after the fast. This is not like some people, some religions, they fast 3 days and 3 nights in Easter and all that. No eating of food, no drinking. That's actually destructive. That's not a fast. That's being harmful as far as, I can see that. You're really harming your body by not giving it what it requires. So my point is, for a period that is humane, so many hours, you choose to actually endure discomfort. In that time, you're not reacting from your body's lusts and cravings and greed and need this and need that. It slows you down. It allows you to connect with your real self. It allows you to connect with your humble self. It allows you to disidentify from that satanic self, that negative propensity, that self that usually likes to do tit for tat with people and shout at people or scream at people, that wants that gratification. You see, so fasting largely is about going beyond ego gratification. The body and the mind's gratification, immediate gratification. It chooses you, it teaches you choice. That even when the fast time for opening the fast is, you don't delay. You understand? Some people might say, I'm a good faster, I'll fast another hour. No. Fast is from sun up to sundown. No delay. But even when you choose to fast, when you choose to break your fast, open your fast, you're not like, I need that food now, how many seconds, That's like a child way of fasting. You get me? Is it time? I'm sitting there looking at this food. You be peaceful without the food. You be calm without you be patient without the food. When you do choose to put the food into your mouth, it's done peacefully, patiently, calmly. It's done with choice. It's not done with compulsion. I need to eat this now, I'm so hungry. That's not a fast. That's a fast. That's something else. You get what I mean? So the more you fast with the intention of Allah guiding you to taqwa, closeness with Him, you become less controlled by the body and the body's identity and in the things and in the world, It's like you don't get excited so much, whether in a positive way, oh, that's so nice, I must have that. People get excited, or get excited in a negative way, oh, that's so bad, I mustn't have that. You get what I mean? So when you start fasting with the purpose of developing taqwa, you are fit, strong, and you're eating healthy, you're just experiencing physical discomfort. And you are handling that physical discomfort as voluntary abstention. And you can endure that discomfort. You build yourself to say, I want this, but I am not going to have it. I want this, but I'm not going to have it. I'm voluntarily, willingly not going to have what my body requires in this moment. And then it moves on to sometimes with our ego personalities. We want to put people in their place. We want to make snide remarks and all that. You realize, I'm not going to do that. My ego wants to crave now. Hunger, food, whatever. My ego wants to put people in their place, say stupid things, behave badly, be irritated, be angry. I'm going to drop all that. I'm not interested in all that. I'm interested in peace. I'm interested in patience. I'm interested in Allah awareness. I'm interested in humbling myself before my Creator. That's more important to me. I'm going to look around and I'm going to see the power of Allah. Power of Allah is, I wouldn't be able to speak a word if it wasn't for the power of Allah. The power of Allah is that we are and we continue to be. The power of Allah is that we are caused and continued. We are created not only to exist, animals are created to exist, but we are created to express at the highest levels of humanity. This is the power of Allah creating us human beings, and the power of Allah that is actually available to us, that we can recognize this power of Allah. You see, when you are in the body, the ego, I got this work to do, I got that to do, I'm this, that, everything busy, I got that person to irritate, this person to blame, this person to straighten out, whatever. Then you're not still, you're not gone within. The more you fast, the more you let the discomfort be and you handle it willingly. And then you begin to focus, I want to focus on Allah. Then you experience that humility that I didn't cause myself to be. I didn't cause this world to be. It's not because of me that I am. It's not because of us human beings that we are human beings. It's because of Allah that we are. Now, you're not the body, this world is real. Now you're beginning to focus on your Creator. You're actually realizing there is Allah beyond this world, because of whom we are. There is this one intelligence, all benevolent, all powerful intelligence. It's with us and for us. Allah is our carer, considerer. Of course we cared for. Of course we consider. We look around and we appreciate. The Quran says, look around and see the greatness of Allah. Say, Alhamdulillah. Say that glory be to Allah. The Quran is not telling you, oh, just read this and read that. You must read this and read that. The Quran is telling you, look and see. Become aware. That higher level awareness, I call multidimensional awareness, you cannot usually access it when you're identified with your ego, with your body, with your roles, with your story, with your you, your you. I'm angry, I'm unhappy, I'm upset, I'm this, I'm that. I need, that needy I. You get me? Once when you fast, that I, that feels needy and I need this and I need it now and it must happen now, and now I must have, that impatient I, that reactive I, the I that's controlled by this world, the I that is trying to control this world, we release that and we become aware of Allah, the universal creator, that beyond this world, beyond me, is my Creator, who caused me and continued me, who not only created me but created me as a human being. You see, and my Creator has blessed me, created me empowered as a human being, has endowed me with faculties, capabilities, abilities, created me distinguished from all other life forms. Look at the animals and look at us. We can reason. Allah gave us status and standing, preferred us over all other creation on the planet. You know what I mean? The Quran says that we are the favored creation of Allah. He blew His Spirit into us, human beings. You know what I mean? We can be creative, we can be peaceful and patient, and we can be loving. So you become more aware beyond yourself and your neediness. You become more aware beyond your body and its desires, you become more aware beyond you and your stories about, I don't like this person, I like that person, this and that. The stories, they go away, and you submit. You say, I focus on the one that alone really is. There is nobody and nothing but Allah, the uncreated, because of whom we have a temporary existence in this world, because of whom we have a sense of being. Nobody and nothing is anything to focus on. Nobody and nothing created is for us to focus on exclusively. We're interested in Allah. We choose to be impressed with Allah. You know what I mean? That relationship with your Creator, you begin to actually build it. As you become, through fasting, it gives you that strength to actually build a closer relationship with your Creator. And you begin to recognize the favors that have been given to you. You start appreciating with humility. And I couldn't do anything, I can't make the world. I'm humble before. Every moment has been because of Allah. And every moment as a humane human being, I've got speech, I've got sight, I've got hearing, is because of Allah. His favors abound. They're innumerable. The Quran says, if you try to count them, you can't count them. They're innumerable. Of course we cared for, of course we could. Allah is championing us from the darkness into the light. Allah has given us guidance in the Quran through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, all other prophets as well. You know what I mean? We start seeing more, spiritually speaking, than where we are in our usual state of mind. You know what I mean? We actually move into an alternate state of consciousness. That's what I can tell you. You see, when you live every day from that ego mind, from that mind that is, you think you know everything, right? So Allah gave us critical faculties of to begin to reflect. If I tell you, there's a house for sale, it's underwater, and it's a very lovely house, and you can live there. You look at me and you'll tell me, Ashraf, a house for sale underwater, and you can live there. I don't believe that. You see, Allah has given us that akal. Now, as a believer, as somebody who is aware of Allah, if I tell you that Allah is sufficient for you, you can put your trust in Allah, and the disease that you have, as a true believer, if you invoke Allah, Allah will heal you. Allah has power over all things. Now, some people say, what? The doctor told me you can't cure this. I've never seen anybody cure this. Nah, I think you're talking nonsense. There are people who will tell me. They'll equate, like if I tell you, there's a house for sale underwater, you can live there. You know what I mean? To what I'm saying, that with Allah has power over all things, as Ibrahim a.s. said, the one who created me will heal me. You see, so this is a different kind of believing, So when you fast and you actually have a relationship with Allah, you will not limit the power of Allah, which is what most people do. Not in the sense of limit Allah. You can't limit Allah. There's nothing we can do. Limit our experience. Let me say it properly. We limit our experiencing of Allah's power. You see? So a lot of people, they are limiting of themselves in the experiencing of Allah's power, and then they try to pray and please help me, but they don't recognize the extent of Allah's power and His privileging. They don't recognize the extent to which we are cared for. The Quran says Allah responds to this, to the supplicant when He calls upon them. It also says, let them respond to Allah. You see, so our everyday ego mind, the fallen mind, it's like lost in time and space. We're real, this world is real, and we think we understand in a logical way. So when you fast and you develop this relationship with Allah, you get to see the truth of things that seem impossible. You get what I mean? You get to see, like, there is Allah, we can't see Allah anywhere, but there is Allah. You start experiencing Allah consciousness, and you experience that relationship knowing that Allah is more real than you and I. Allah alone is the uncreated. Allah alone actually exists. We, through His power, through His privileging, through His greatness have been brought forward. You get what I mean? So the more you fast with the intention of developing taqwa, the easier it is for you to release the ego's gravitational pull. that this body needs. I am unhappy. This body. And that that ego I, is suspended. And you tap in with a higher level awareness I. That's the believer in you. Then you will start recognizing and realizing things that don't make sense to the ego mind. So, there'll be people telling us all kinds of things because they're not believers. I'm not saying they don't have beliefs. I'm saying they're not aware of things that are incredible. The incredible. They're not aware of the incredible. So there are people who tell us we are advanced animals. You know what I mean? You're an advanced animal. You're an animal, but a very advanced animal. But we know the truth. The believers know that we human beings are different from the animals. Allah breathed His Spirit into us. We have creativity, imagination. We can connect with Allah in a way that animals can't. We can be loving and compassionate. We can be aware of Allah's beautiful attributes. We can even embody Allah's attributes. We are experiencing things that science can't measure. Love, peace, faith, joy, assurance. You get what I mean? The scientists will tell us, but there's no such thing as faith, there's no such thing as peace, salam, but we can experience it. And you can't find peace anywhere in the world, you can't put it into a bottle, but the believer who has dropped the ego, who's gone multidimensional, who's aware of Allah, if you're aware of Allah, you're aware of Allah's gracious nature. You'll look around you and you'll see proof, the evidence. The Quran says those who deny the evidence. I mean, you look around, you'll see the evidence. The Quran says, how can you not believe, saying that you are not and here you are? You see, when you live with that ego self that's in this world, in the trance, worshipping Satan, then you can't see from a higher level. Fasting allows us to subdue that I hungry, give me, I'm unhappy, I'm going to do this, and that compulsivity. And then it allows us to connect, and it allows us to actually experience Allah. So a believer doesn't have beliefs about Allah. A believer experiences Allah's greatness and graciousness. We know a believer is aware, anybody who's aware of Allah is aware of the infinite grace of Allah, the infinitely gracious nature of Allah. You can't say I'm Allah aware and you don't know the grace of Allah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, with whom our security is assured, with whom our satisfaction is ensured. If you're aware of Allah, then you're aware of His love towards you, His compassion, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, His giving nature. You're aware that He has given to you. You don't have to force anything out of Allah. You have no power to tell Allah what to do. You can't tell Allah, I don't feel you loving, come on, be a little bit more loving. Allah is absolutely loving. You get what I mean? It's us who's limiting our awareness of Allah and experiencing of Allah. And this is, the more you do this, the more when you fast and you, for the purpose of attaining taqwa, you become aware of Allah, you experience the relationship with Allah, you have experience of submission with Allah, you draw closer to Allah, you experience something that most people will tell you doesn't exist because you can't measure it. It's not in length and breadth and depth and height and in time. It's beyond that. The believers are aware of a reality in our hearts. We are aware of a reality that those who are not aware of that reality will deny it and say it doesn't exist. You know, like I'm saying, people will tell you you're an advanced animal. People will tell you, a planet can come from anywhere and a meteorite can destroy our planet, or something can happen, the world can end tomorrow. They don't know. Allah knows everything. Allah has told us this is how it's going to be. You understand? They don't know. So people who don't know, they think they know. So when you tell them something incredible that is stupid, they'll recognize it. But if you tell them something that is incredible, that's not stupid, they put it in the same category. If I tell you that if you have Iman and you experience Allah consciousness, Allah has power over all things, He will fulfill your every invocation as a believer, unfailingly. That's what He says. Invoke me and I will surely respond. And if I tell you you can live in a house underwater, people will think I'm talking about the same thing. You think we're stupid. You think we're stupid. Now that is the unsubmitted I. When we submit, and especially through taqwa development, through fasting, we actually are less concerned with the body and its senses, And we are more concerned with our heart, purifying the heart, connecting with Allah through humility, and experiencing gratitude. We start seeing things, we start looking and seeing the evidence for the experience that we can't see with the eyes. We are aware of it. You see, this is taqwa. The more you draw closer to Allah in a relationship of submission, you won't be the same person. You'll be more and more secure. Things will work out for you. The promise of Allah is true. Allah's good is available to us. Your du'as will be answered. You won't just be living like somebody who went to madrasa, just learned things, and the rest of your life carried on like that. You would really spiritually develop yourself. And you would really experience life as a spiritually developed person. And you'll be able to develop your personality too through fasting. Because I don't talk when it's unnecessary to talk. I don't make stories. I talk peacefully, lovingly, happily, not just talking for the sake of talking. Because in the month of Ramadan, you learn to be subdued. You're not excessive in just wasting words and all that sort of thing. When you have taqwa, people can see the change in you. So if you started the month and you're ending the month, today is the last fast, tomorrow is the 1st of Shawwal, it's Eid al-Fitr, it's a celebration. You can't fast tomorrow, don't even think of it, because you're not allowed to fast on the day of celebration. Just as it is important for us to learn to subdue ourselves, then it's also important for us to celebrate as believers, to feast and have festive and joy on the day of Eid, because we have developed ourselves, and as believers we celebrate. Not allowed to fast on the day, because you must learn to celebrate. Learn to enjoy yourself too. Allah's guidance to us. You see, Allah doesn't want hardship for us. Fasting is not about hardship. Fasting is about drawing closer to Allah, taqwa. Fasting is about us fulfilling the purpose that we are here for. It's one of the most powerful spiritual tools that I know that has benefited me. Shukr to Allah. I'm glad we made it through the month of Ramadan. All 5 Fridays, I think it is. And tomorrow is Eid. I wish you and your families and a most enjoyable Eid day. Remember, it's a day of celebration, it's a day of happiness, it's a day of joy for the believer. We have done our purpose. We fasted for taqwa, we have taqwa, and we make it a fun day for ourselves and for others. From taqwa, from iman, from amal, from good conduct, we have halal and tayyib and enjoy, and really grateful that we have done the work that brings us closer to Allah, that takes us closer to our death in a way that is valuable to us, and that we are more answerable and ready for the gathering of the final day to take our place and move into, the beyond. So people might not believe what I'm saying, because the ego mind says, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about. In the meantime, it's people who haven't submitted, who haven't become aware of the reality of Allah, the power of Allah, the privileging of Allah. They can't see, because they didn't develop taqwa. Shukr to Allah who guided me to develop taqwa. It's for us to claim the refuge with Allah. It's for us to release Satan worship. It's for us to aspire higher. It's for us to learn and apply ourselves to demonstrate iman and amal. It's for us to claim the refuge with Allah and His forgiveness and protection. It's for us. We got our part to do in this world. I'm doing it. Shukr to Allah. You're doing it, good for you too. Shukr. I end with that. All praise, glory and thanks is due to Allah Almighty. His choicest blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukr to Allah.